Welcome everyone to our virtual Brainfuse workshop. We have Diane Bizzle from Brainfuse is going to be sharing how the software works and all the features it has for tutoring, homework help, and some other things. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to her.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so you should all be able to see my screen now, and I'm going to go over, first I'm going to show you where you can go to find Brainfuse from the Palo Alto City Library website, just so you know where to go to get to it. And then I'll go over the different aspects of what we offer. I'm not going to talk about everything just because we have a ton of resources. I'm going to focus on the items that historically are more popular. So I found that the easiest way to get to the Brainfuse website is to go under Explore. And then I like to go to either kids or teens. And then you can go to homework help under the services. Is this right? Is this not where I went before? This is not where I went before. So I just completely told you the wrong way to go.
If you go to our A to Z under e-library,
okay.
And then
library and then A to Z.
Correct, and then you will see that Brainfuse is listed alphabetically.
All right, so ignore what I just said and go to e-library, A to Z resources, and then probably the easiest thing would just be jump to B and scroll down to Brainfuse. So that's what the online tutoring is called. And when you go here, you will need to enter in your library card and your PIN number in order to get to the Brainfuse website. So this is what our site looks like. I'm going to focus on the items in the expert help column because that's what's used most often, and that's where you can get the personalized assistance. The other tools are really great for studying and collaborating, and I'm just going to kind of touch on those. I'm not going to go into an extensive amount of details. And there's a couple things I want to point out first. The website is bilingual, or is Spanish as well. So if someone prefers to communicate or read in Spanish, from the drop down here, you can just switch it and translate Spanish. And we also do have Spanish speaking tutors for all of the subjects that we have the tutoring in. So if you are someone who can communicate in both English and Spanish, you have that option. The live tutors are available from 1 until 10. However, just so you know, we do have different ways that you can get help if it's outside of the live tutoring hours. So we do have a writing lab where you can send your paper in and get feedback. And then there's also send question where you can send a question in and get feedback that way. As far as the backgrounds of the tutors, they are all educated with a 4-year degree. And then we do have supervisors who will oversee all of the sessions. They're there to answer questions, and they can put a new tutor into a session if your tutor is having a connection issue, or if maybe you have a question and the tutor is not sure how to answer it effectively, our supervisor can put a new tutor into the session. So it's just, they're there to make things easier for you. So what I'm going to do before I actually go into the live tutoring is I'm going to show you how to create a Brainfuse account. You do not have to create an account on Brainfuse in order to access the live tutors. However, I think it makes things a little bit easier for you to track what you've done and to look back at sessions that you've had with different tutors. You're also able then to go back and use the writing lab and the send question. If you are trying to use anything that does require you to have a Brainfuse account, you will see a screen like this where it's asking you to log in or to sign up. So I'm going to show you how to sign up, just so you know. It's really pretty straightforward. All you're doing is you're creating a username and a password. So we're not collecting any personal information. We're not asking for an email address or for your phone number or anything, or your name or anything like that. So I do recommend that when you're creating your username, you create something that you know you're going to remember, or that you write down somewhere in a secure location. Same with your password. We do recommend that you either create something that you know you're going to remember, that you use different capitalization, punctuation, special characters, and all of that is in the text here. So the reason why I'm saying to write it down or make sure you create something that you remember, because we're not collecting your email address, we don't have a way to do an email reset of your account. Instead, you would have to contact our tech department, either on the phone or via email. So it just is a little bit more cumbersome. It's like an extra step. You weren't going to get that instantaneous ability to reset your password. Okay, so now I have created my account, and I'm going to go into the live tutoring. So there are tutors available from kindergarten all the way through college level. For lower grade levels, the subjects is more basic. And then let's say you're in high school, you would choose your grade level, and then you can see here the more specific math, science, and social studies courses. So basically, the higher grade level you choose, the more subjects there are. So if you are in 10th grade and you're looking at this list, maybe you're in pre-calc, you don't see it under the 10th grade, you could just go up to a higher grade level and you would see the subject then. If you would prefer to work with a Spanish-speaking tutor, this is the box that you would check. When it comes to college level, it's nothing specialized. So these are the list of courses. It's like your basic core courses that you would take when you are maybe first or second year in college, nothing specialized. We also have assistance if you are filling out a FAFSA application, and that's, if you're not familiar with it, is the federal financial student aid for when you are applying to go to college. Even if you're not sure if you would qualify for FAFSA assistance, it's always good to at least fill out the form and see if you are able to get any financial aid. And because that is sometimes a little bit complicated to know how to fill out, we do have live assistance for that as well. I'm going to show you what our classroom looks like and how the interactions take place. So our classroom is HTML5, which basically means it works on all devices and within all browsers. You're not downloading anything to use the classroom. It does work on iPads and tablets and Chromebooks, regular computers. Doesn't matter what browser you're using, the classroom will work for you. Whenever you are interacting with a tutor, the tutor is going to help you arrive at the correct answer. So they're never just going to give you an answer. They're going to help you understand how to get to the correct answer. So you can see here in this little demo session, they're walking through the graphing the equation process on the board. All of the tools are across the bottom. So it's pretty self-explanatory for how to use the classroom. You can share files with your tutor. There's an attach icon here next to the chat. So you can use that, or you can just drag and drop files onto the whiteboard. So if you are doing a paper, or maybe you are working on a worksheet, you can share all those types of files with your tutor in a live session and work on it that way. So the next thing I'll show you is the writing lab. And this is one of those areas where you can get assistance anytime. It's the personalized assistance, but it's not instantaneous. It's basically like you're emailing a tutor, but the messaging is all done through Brainfuse. So you are not having to exchange any personal information. You don't give them your name or your phone number, your email, or anything like that. You would just attach your file here, and then there's a little box where you can put information about your assignments or anything that you would like the tutor to help you with. Like for me, when I was in school and having to do papers, I always had a really hard time writing conclusions, probably just because I liked to write a lot and I would never really know the best way to wrap it up. So for me, what I would put in that comment box is maybe just a little explanation about what my assignment is or the purpose of my writing, and then let the tutor know that I really want some additional help on writing the conclusion. And then just click submit, which will send the paper to the writing tutors. So one thing that's super, super important to know about the writing lab is it's not instantaneous, like I said. The feedback is going to be within 12 to 24 hours. That's typical. It can take as long as a business day. So what that means is if you are putting a paper in and it's Friday, you might not get a response until Monday. So that's just something really important for you to know. When I was in college, I used to procrastinate a lot about writing my papers, and I would wait until maybe like a couple hours before my class before I would write it. So for me, in college, I would never use the writing lab because I wouldn't get the feedback quickly enough. So if you are a procrastinator like I was, I would definitely recommend doing any writing assistance in a live session versus using the writing lab. I'm going to show some writing lab feedback as well, so you know what to expect. Let me make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. So when our tutors send you feedback on your writing, there is a response form that they fill out. And the first couple paragraphs here are just telling you what to expect as you are looking at the feedback. And then in the actual form, the tutor is going to give you some advice about how to strengthen the various sections of your writing. So they will talk about the paper as a whole. In the overview, we'll talk about the introduction and conclusion, the development, organization, style, grammar and mechanics. If there is any type of formatting that you need to have, they'll make sure that you get all of that information so you know how to format it correctly. And then there might be some resources to help you build your skills even further. So essentially, just like with anytime you're working with a tutor live, they're not giving you answers. With the writing lab, they're not going to make edits on the paper itself. They're giving you the information and resources so you can better understand how to improve your writing. So at the bottom of the form, there's going to be a copy of your paper. And there will be some comments within the paper itself. So if we look at this first comment, it is referring to the sentence, a new word, super learner, may have an obvious connotative meaning, but this new word can be concretely defined and exampled as well. So what the tutor did here is they highlighted the word exampled and put a comment that it's not the verb form of example. So typically in that feedback there, the tutors are going to be doing the comments in a different color font. So it's easy for you to spot those specific comments. They may be highlighting different aspects as well. So they're not actually, within the paper, they're not going to be pointing out every single error because they're giving you a lot of information above in the feedback form that you can use to apply to your paper. So for example, this one here about the pronouns and pronoun and noun agreements. I'm going to go to send question next because that's laid out very similarly to the writing lab. Actually, before I do that, it's probably important for me to tell you where you go to get your writing lab feedback. So when you get feedback on your writing, you would log in on the website. Remember, we're not collecting any information. We're not collecting your email address or anything. So you're not going to get an email alert letting you know that you have a reply. If you choose to download the Brainfuse app, you will get an alert on the app, and that will let you know that you have received feedback on your paper. I'm just opening up the app here on my phone. So this is, I have an Android, and this is what the app looks on an Android. So you would get an alert if you're using your phone as well, or a mobile device. In other instances, you would just need to log back in on Help Now and check to see if you have gotten feedback. If you have, on your inbox here at the top, after you log in, you would see an alert letting you know that you have feedback. So you can go to it right from the inbox, or you can go directly to the message center under the drop down and access the feedback that way. So that's where the feedback both for the writing lab and for send question would be. So just like the writing lab send question is asynchronous, you're getting personalized feedback, but it's not happening right now. So it's another one where it would you would need to be aware that you're not going to have instant feedback. It will take about 12 to 24 hours to get your feedback. And the big difference is you would need to choose your subject and your grade level from the drop downs. because that way the question is sent to the right tutors. And your feedback and send question will be similar to a tutoring session. Typically what our tutors do if it's a math question is they'll walk you through the process of solving a similar question. They're never going to give you answers. It's really all about helping you improve and understand things that you may not understand from going to school or working with your teacher. It's also really nice. I don't know specifically in Palo Alto how your school districts are, but where I am, they have different options for school this year where if you want to do online learning, you have that option. You can do hybrid where sometimes you're going to school and sometimes you are doing like Zoom meetings online. So being able to access these tutors, whether it's live or with the writing lab or send question, is a really great way for you to get individualized help that you may not get when you are working with the hybrid learning or the e-learning. So under the language lab, I know I'm skipping around just a little bit. We do have help if you are learning Spanish. You can connect with a live tutor to work on Spanish. There is also a vocabulary builder at the bottom, and this is basically flashcards and games to help with basic vocabulary. It's really a great tool to help you study for different tests or quizzes that you may have in different foreign language classes. And then SkillSurfer is the other section that we haven't gone into yet. And this section has so much information in it. It's a little bit, it can be a little bit overwhelming just because of the amount of information. So what I like to I kind of like to condense what's in here by just telling you that if you know you don't understand something that you're working on in school, or if there's something that you want to learn more about, this is where you can come to do that. So if you're working on maybe graphing, you can just type graphing into the search and it'll pull up different topics and lessons that you can look at. Or what you can do is you can go into like your grade level section. Let's say you're in middle school. You can come into like middle school, 7th grade science, and look at different lessons and videos, practice tests in here. And what we've done is we've connected these independent learning tools, these different lessons and videos to the live tutoring. So for example, if I'm looking at this lesson on speed, and I'm so sorry, my dogs are barking at the door. They'll be quiet in just a moment. So let's say I get down here where I'm looking at the formula and I get to these practice questions and I get really confused. Like I've read through everything and it made sense when I was reading through it, but now that I'm trying to do it on my own, I don't understand. What I can do is up at the top, there's this live help button. I can click on get live help and it's going to take me to, in this case, it would be a 7th grade science teacher or tutor, and that tutor will be able to help me figure out how to answer these types of questions. I'm personally not a math or science person. So for me, like I can read these lessons all day long, or I can watch the videos and I'll think it makes sense. But then when I actually try and do it on my own, I get really confused. So just being able to then connect with that live person and get that help is really key. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. So we do have the high school as well, where it is laid out by the different subjects. I'll show you one of the video lessons as well, just so you can see what these look like. Let me mute my computer sound because it does get distracting for me. So all of these videos that we have do have closed captioning as well. So if you are, maybe you have brothers and sisters, or your parents are trying to do work and you are watching a video, you can watch it with the sound off, or you can use headphones. That way it's not distracting to anyone else, but you're still getting those visuals and seeing the actual process, which I think is helpful for various subjects. So another thing in here is we do have a lot of different practice tests. So we do have in high school level, you can see there are different practice tests for like the AP. There are different practice tests for the high school equivalency. And then if we go into the college entrance, this one's where if you are getting ready to take the SAT or the ACT, you can get information here about not only taking practice tests, but you can also look at these preparation packs, which will break down what is in the test prep books into smaller chunks of information. So let's say for the ACT, all you really want to know is how you can be successful. You can just come in here and look at this quick little tips for success. And one thing with the ACT that I think is pretty cool is when you take a guess, there's not a wrong answer penalty. So that's really nice when it comes to like the multiple choice questions, because typically you can eliminate one or two of the answers and then take an educated guess on what the correct answer is. Another thing with our practice tests, I'm going to open one of the tests up. I'll do English. I'm going to click Start Test. And it's pretty easy to just, do your reading, answer your questions. You're going to click Next to go to the next question. Everything that you answer is automatically saved. So you don't have to worry about like if your power goes out for some reason, or if you have an internet problem, or maybe you just get bored and you don't want to finish a practice test. Everything that you answered is saved. So you can just continue it at another time. Like this one, 75 questions long. That's a long test to do in one sitting. So I'm going to click Done. And then I can either click here, this link, if I want to look at my answers right away, or under this drop down for my account, there's a section called My Tests. And this is where I can see the tests that I've taken and look at the feedback there. So what we've done with the practice test is we've connected it to the live tutors. So what you'll see when you finish a practice test at first is this summary showing you all of the different skills that were in that practice test. And then if you want to work on any of these different skills, you can just mouse over the skill and then click Get Live Help to work with an ACT tutor or whatever practice test you've completed. In addition to the summary, you can absolutely see every question, and you can see your answer. You can see an explanation as to why that answer is correct. And the tutors do have the ability to look at all of these tests as well. So if you are looking at one of these answers and you're reading the explanation, you still don't understand and you want personal assistance, you can connect to a tutor and get assistance that way as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can use this to work with tutors and get that personalized help. I'm just going to scroll down through the rest of this just so you can see the different areas that there are. The CBIS, I know that's a California test, so there are the different practice tests in there. There are also some resources for parents, both in English and Spanish. We do have some videos, articles, and then we actually do have some advice for COVID as well, dealing with distance learning and teaching from home. So just some different tips and ideas to make it a little bit easier. I think we all know how overwhelming that is. And then when it comes to the articles, it'll be things that you can do to help your children build skills in different subjects, how to communicate with their teachers, those sort of things. And the videos are actually useful for anyone who is using Help Now. There's videos that kind of go over the different things that you're able to do and the different resources that are available in here. Okay, so I'm back over on the home page now. And the last section here, or excuse me, the last item here, the featured service, this is something that will be different depending on the time of year. Right now, we are highlighting the FAFSA help because that's something that was recently added. But it might be like ACT or SAT preparation at other points during the year. So, all right, so I am going to quickly go over the study and collaborate sections as well. But before I do that, if you do have any questions, you can type them into the chat. I know Liz had said you can save them or to save them until the end, but I also know sometimes you might forget your question. So I just want to take a second here or a couple minutes and answer any questions that you may have up to this point. Yes, or you can unmute if you don't want to type. That's perfectly fine too. This isn't a big group of people, so. And if you don't have any questions, that's fine as well. It just tells me that either I put you to sleep or that I'm doing such an awesome job. You don't have any questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
Thank you, by the way, for this great presentation. You may have said this already, so I apologize, but for the language lab, is that tutoring available for adults as well as at any age, or?
Yes, it's for any level of learner, adult learners. Just, you know, if you're learning Spanish, that's a great area you can go. We have people who are just like wanting to brush up on Spanish skills, ignoring my dog. And because they're fluent in both English and Spanish, so it is for any level.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'll go ahead and continue, and then we will make sure that there's some time at the end as well for any other questions. We're going to go to the study section, and there's 3 different items here. So the LEAP learning platform is really designed for those who are getting ready to go to college as well as adult learners. And with this, you'll see there are several different courses: ACT, college readiness, GED, SAT. So when it comes to these, when you go into one of the courses, I'll do college readiness math. It's going to start with a practice test. And this is just like the practice test I just showed you in SkillSurfer, but there's a pretty big difference. So in SkillSurfer, at the end of the practice test, it showed me an answer summary with the skills, and that wasn't quite the end. And at the end of this practice test, it's actually creating a learning plan for me. So it's showing me all the skills, and I can click on the skill, and then it's pulling the different lessons, videos, and quizzes to help me self-check and see how I am progressing in building these skills. And when I'm looking at these, I'll do this one here. Again, it's laid out just like the lessons in SkillSurfer. And if I do want to connect with a live person for help, I can click live help at the top. When I am comfortable with it, I would mark it as completed, which then is tracking everything for me so I can know my progress, know what I've finished, what I need to still work on, and just kind of work my way through learning these different items. And when I go back and scroll down to the bottom, you'll see here the course that I started, my overall progress, and I can come back in. So this tool, this LEAP tool, is really self-guided learning. It's really great if you are an adult learner, maybe wanting to go back to school, or just wanting to build some skills for job hunting. You can come in here and work on that. Or even if you're a parent and you're helping your child with their homework, this is another really good way that you can refresh yourself on some of those different skills that your children are learning. The next one. This one I love. This is Flashbulb, which is basically just flashcards. But I'm super, okay, so I know I said earlier I was a procrastinator, and this is totally going to contradict that because I'm also really a type A person. I was very much when it came to like all of the tests and stuff that I would take in school, I wanted to get an A on everything. So I would make flashcards on index cards. This was like back when I was in school, the internet was just being developed, so we didn't have cool tools like this. So I would actually like handwrite all my flashcards out and everything and use that to study. Super nerdy. But this is really cool because it's that same concept, but it's virtual, and there's also games that you can play on it. So you can create your own flashcards from this create at the top, where you would just do create new flashbulb, enter in what you want to call it, what the description is, what category you want it to be saved in. You can enter in your questions and answers, and then when you're done, it's going to create the flashcards and all of these different study games for you. Excuse me. So I'm going to go into one of the sets that's already been created by someone. So these are created just by different Brainfuse users. Our curriculum team does create some as well. So my recommendation, if you are coming in and just wanting to use the flashcards that have been created, that you use one that has a check mark next to it. That way you know that everything's going to be accurate. Or maybe your teacher has created some for you to use, because we do see a lot of that as well. You can search. So I'll go into these math vocabulary words. These are the basic flashcards where you can do your self-studying. And then the fun games, I really like Bug Match. I think it's super cute, where you're going to use just the arrows on your keyboard to move the little red bug around and catch the bug that has the correct answer. So you can see there's other various games as well. Oh, and Snowman, just so you know, this is kind of like Hangman, but with a snowman instead. Where the snowman melts if you get a wrong letter. Okay, and then the next one here is the study section. This is called eParachute, and it's a good tool if you are wanting to do like a school or a career assessment or a career aptitude test where you're trying to decide what you want to be when you grow up, trying to decide what college majors might be interesting to you. This is a really nice, thorough, easy to use tool that will give you different career ideas. I'll just click into it so you can see. It's just this really easy 4-step process where you're basically just choosing from different options. And then when you explore, it's going to give you 32 different featured ideas. Then we have a collaborate section. We have Meet and Brainwave. Meet is the ability to use the Brainfuse classroom as your own virtual classroom. What's nice about Meet is as long as you have someone's email address, you can invite them to use the Brainfuse classroom with you. It doesn't have to be someone who has a Palo Alto library card, because they are going to get an email that will only allow them to access the Meet classroom. They won't be able to access anything else. So I'm just going to enter in, choose my start and end time. I can put a description and click send. So everyone who I sent the email to will get an email with just that link. And then as the person who organized it, I would need to enter right from this page, which is the calendar page. So you can find it under your account drop-down, My Calendar. So if there's ever anything that you can't find, check under your account drop-down. It's probably there. So this just takes me right into the classroom. It takes a moment here to load. And then I can use all of the different tools and have my own study group. We have parents who are using this tool with other parents, and just to figure out how to help their children with assignments. We have teachers who are using this with their students as another way to enhance what they're doing with distance learning. Likewise, the other collaboration tool is Brainwave, which is another way to use the Brainfuse classroom. But in this instance, instead of it being a live virtual classroom, you're using it to take notes. So when I create a Brainwave, so it's opening up that same classroom, it's giving me some ideas here on how I can use this tool. This is another one that we do see a lot of teachers using. We even have some of our tutors who will create different Brainwaves. And it's just going to record everything that I do. When I'm done, I would just click stop. I can put a description. I can share it with other people in the Brainwave library. I can send it and I can save it. So I'm just going to save mine and close out of this. So this page is going to refresh. And that one that I just recorded, I can replay here. I can pause, I can jump ahead, I can skip back. And in the library, you can look for different topics. Like I said, we do have teachers who use this as well. So you can maybe, if your teacher is choosing to use this as a way to show you how to solve a particular problem, or maybe give you instructions on an assignment, you would just need to search for whatever terminology they're using. Like I'm just doing a general math search. And you can sort by author, by the view count, by how many stars, and by the date. So like this one has quite a few views. This might be a good one for me to watch if I'm learning fractions. Or if I'm looking at the ratings, this is another good way for me to kind of narrow down what is going to be a good lesson. So just be aware that these are user created, just like with the flashcards. So I do recommend, if you're using the library, that you search by the view count or rating, or you know, maybe you have someone who has created a Brainwave that you want to watch that they didn't share via email, and you can search for it in here. And then just so everyone knows, we do have a separate page for adult learners. And this has a lot of the same information that we have in SkillSurfer, but it is specific for adult learners. So if there is an adult learner who wants to get like the live tutoring, they could come here, and instead of choosing a grade level, they would just choose the proficiency level and then the subject. And again, we do have Spanish-speaking tutors available here as well. In the Adult Learning Center, there are also some job resources. So the career resources are basically, it's different websites where you can do some job seeking. So instead of having to use a search engine and getting like hundreds of thousands of results, you can come in here and you know that these different websites are websites that are going to be reliable for job hunting, because there are, with the level of unemployment and with companies doing remote working, there's an increase in the amount of scams that are happening when it comes to job searching. So this, you know, has been vetted by our curriculum team, and all of these websites are going to have legitimate jobs on them. And the other job tools in the Adult Learning Center are for writing a resume. So there's templates, and then there's also a resume lab where you can get personalized feedback. One thing I forgot to mention is all of the tutoring sessions are recorded and saved. So if you have created an account on Brainfuse and you did a tutoring session, you went through it with your tutor, you finished your session, you walked away, you didn't start your homework right away, maybe you went and had dinner or had a phone call from a friend or whatever it may be, and you forget what you learned, instead of having to reconnect with a tutor and go through the process again, you can do that if you want, but if you want to just rewatch a session, under your account dropdown, there is a section called My Past Sessions where you would be able to see all of the tutoring sessions that you've had, and you can replay them. Okay, so I have given an overview of all of the different things that we offer, which I know is a lot. I went over a lot of information this evening, and I want to take the last 10 minutes and answer any questions that you may have. Feel free to unmute. If you don't have questions right now, that's totally fine. You can always contact your librarians and they can get in touch with us if they need to. We do also have the contact us at the bottom, where if you have questions, you can contact Brainfuse directly as well, just whatever works best for you. So I'll stop talking, and if you have questions, please feel free to ask.
One question is, what are the fees to sign up for this service?
This is absolutely free. All you need is your library card.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, yeah.
And how do you choose, how do the tutors qualify for this service?
Okay, that's a really great question. So all of our tutors, we hire tutors that have at least a 4-year degree. So that's a requirement for their educational background. And after that, they go through an interview process where the first thing we do, obviously, is we review their resume. We do a reference and background check. And then, assuming all of that is good, our tutors would then have to take proficiency tests for anything that they would like to tutor in. And in order to be approved, they would have to pass those, like prove that they have the knowledge. Then before we let them start tutoring, they actually do a session with one of our supervisors to make sure that they can communicate effectively online, since it is very different than when you're face-to-face with someone, like just being able to type quickly and communicate well in an online environment, because things can get misconstrued, and you do need to be able to type pretty quickly to keep the flow going with the session.
And it's all just online. Are you able to have any like ones where you actually speak to them for the, like say if you want help in physics and something's just not getting through via the messaging back and forth?
Yeah, so it is all online in the classroom. I'll pull it up again as a refresher for what it looks like, where there's the whiteboard and the chat where you can type. I can check into audio capabilities with our technical department. I know it's something that they're working on. I'm just not sure where it's at. So I forget. Really good questions. Any other questions?
Is it okay to ask one more question?
Yeah, ask as many as you have.
So say, for example, there you found one tutor that just you seem to get along with, they seem to really understand what your background is. Can you, every time you call in for that same physics help, can you request for that same tutor every time?
You can. So when you connect, it's going to just randomly connect you to whatever tutor is available. And when you get connected with a live tutor, you can ask them, hey, is like David available or whomever. And what the tutor then is able to do is they're able to communicate with the supervisor to see if the tutor that you like to work with is online and available. And as long as they are, then yes, you can absolutely work with the same tutor.
Great, great. This sounds amazing.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Great question.
Thanks. And you said anytime between 1 o'clock Pacific Standard up until 10 Pacific Standard.
Live tutoring is from 1 until 10. You can go in, like you can use the writing lab anytime and the send question and all of those like self-study tools, SkillSurfer and practice tests and all that. It's just the first one here, the live tutoring, and then connecting to a live tutor in the language lab and in the FAFSA health that are just between those hours.
Okay.
Is that it for questions? So I want to make sure that we thank Diane so much for this very thorough overview of Brainfuse. This was great.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I guess there are no more questions. Last chance, folks. Go for it.
Diane, how do you offer this at no cost?
So actually your public library is paying for the service. So it's one of the things that they offer for you. So you can thank your library for that.
Excellent.
And the library is thrilled to offer it as well. And that's why we're having this program too, because we'd like to see people use it some more, because we think it's really valuable, especially right now with the whole COVID remote learning situation.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks
You're
for all the
welcome.
questions. It's great.
Yeah. I appreciate questions because then I know I kept you awake.
Okay, well, we plan to end at 4:30 and it's just about that now. So thank you so much, Diane. And
You're
thank
welcome.
you who came. And we really, really appreciate it. And yes, applause, applause. I like applause.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to close down the Zoom. And I guess that's it.
Have a good evening, everyone.
You too.